Good evening and welcome to the fourth episode of the Burgh Breakdown, brought to you by Scottish Building Society. Tonight, I'm very happy to be joined by Ben Muncaster and skills and assistant attack coach Gareth Baber, as we'll be chatting about the game against Bath and previewing Zebre. Good evening, guys. It's nice sunny evening. Sorry to keep you indoors, but how are you getting on, Ben?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks. It's been a lovely day. I've got the shorts on, making the most of the Edinburgh sun. I'm good to be honest. I'm looking forward to it.
And Babs, how are you getting on? First time you'll probably have seen the sun in Edinburgh.
No, we've had a couple of nice days here. Generally, obviously, the training days tend to be a bit windy and wet on the pitch, but no, I'm enjoying my time up here in Edinburgh. And as you say, in the last couple of days, with it being nice and sunny, chance to get out and go for a nice couple of walks.
I mean, it's been sort of just over 6 months now that you've been here. I mean, how are you sort of settling into the job and settling into living in the city?
Oh, look, I'm enjoying it. I've travelled a bit with rugby, and I've always enjoyed going to new cities and finding out about new cities. It's a little bit tough with my family not here. My family's still down in Cardiff, but ultimately, I've come here to work at Edinburgh. I've enjoyed the work that I've got on with over those 6 months, and the ethos of the team, the culture and the environment that we have here in Edinburgh. And I just want to add value to that wherever I get an opportunity. And working with some quality coaches and a good playing staff, and obviously staff around that as well. I've been made to feel very welcome first and foremost, but equally I'm enjoying the challenge of the work I've got to do. I
mean, talking about adding value, I think you're probably the first Edinburgh coach that's been on currency. So people might not have seen that Babs is on the Fijian. Is it a $7 note after the gold medal in Tokyo?
Yes, it's a $7 note. They'd done something previous in the previous Olympics. After following that, they'd have a $7 note, and the team that won that had a picture on the front of that note, and something similar has been done from obviously what we managed to achieve in Tokyo. So yeah, obviously it's a nice recognition for what you've done, and obviously I've got to get my hands on a few if I can. But nice sort of reward for the work we did.
Yeah, and I mean, Ben, obviously first time working with Babs. I mean, how have you found sort of that period with him?
Oh no, I've been really enjoying it. I think he's an absolutely awesome coach. He took me to the side with some of my individual work-ons I've been working on with him. Some of my passes from the scrum, and then also just my 8 picks from carrying and whatnot. And he's been an extremely good benefit for myself. And yeah, I've been loving it.
Yeah, and I'll pose the same question for you, Babs. How have you found working with Benny?
Well, he keeps me entertained, that's for certain. No, he's I think that there's a lot come Ben's way in a short period of time, and I think that he has character, which is what you need certainly in the environment that we exist in. He knows what he wants to get out of the game, and above all, I think that he's proved that there's no ceiling to his potential as well. He's worked hard. He's earning the respect of everybody around the environment, and as a young man, there's some real positives in his game that I think are going to really drive him on to be the player that he wants to be.
That's awesome. And we've all heard about Ben keeping everyone entertained. Ben, I've heard that in South Africa you were the man on the mic in the bus and sort of leading all the singing. I mean, tell us a bit about that, and who's the worst or best singer in the squad? I
have to say, the videographer Joe Palela, he's an extremely good singer, aka Rambo. He was a very good singer. I think he sang a bit of Elton John, and I thought he was quite the feat. And then worst, I have to say, Matthew Curry, aka Andy Murray. It was just a bit awkward. He's tried really hard, and he's trying to be extra loud, and he's just not loud. So yeah, probably him.
Well, Babs, I've heard that the Welsh, don't want to use stereotypes, but the Welsh pipes have done you quite good. I mean, I've heard that you're a very good singer.
Yeah, we had a couple of songs. Obviously, when you get on the bus and you've got the MC at the front in Ben Muncaster, he's calling people up to sing. Then obviously it's part of the process that we have in getting to know each other. But equally, then yeah, a couple of songs along the way. You can't disappoint, can you? And yeah, I obviously like being centre stage. It's all about me, and getting up there and singing for the boys is always entertaining.
What's your go-to?
I think I sang Hotel California when we were in South Africa. Something like that, or Walking in Memphis. Bit of Tom Jones, as everybody.
Did you not sing
want.
a bit of Tom Jones, Babs?
No, I didn't sing Tom Jones.
I'm pretty sure you did.
No.
Might be imagining that, Ben. What do you go to, Ben?
What's the Step Brothers? You know that Time to Say Goodbye. You know the opera song. Yeah, I love that one. I learned all the lyrics. I learned the Italian opera, the words. I don't know any Italian apart from all that song.
That's all you need, I reckon.
Yeah, no, it's gone down well.
It was very good, very good.
And just before we get into rugby chat, one more bit of trivia for you, Babs. Heard that you've got a bit of a connection with Soccer AM.
Yeah, so obviously I introduced a lot of the boys who probably weren't even born when I was on that, but it came when I was playing back in Wales, and I was playing for the Dragons, and I was in an altercation, shall we say, and I came off certainly second best. This was recorded and played played on Soccer AM at the time, and it became a bit of a part of the show. Hit Me Baby one more time, but basically showing me getting knocked out and subsequent sports people embarrassing themselves on their sports pitches or sports courts, wherever it may be. So, yeah, that's one that stuck with me. But I shared it with the players. We have within the group, we have a sharing of what we are about as individuals and where we come from, to build relationships with each other. And during that was one of the pieces that I showed the players. And yeah, I think they enjoyed seeing me get knocked down on my bum.
One of the worst things to be known for, I reckon. But it was a great night on Saturday night. A big European win against Bath Rugby. So we've got a little clip to relive the night. Some great clips there from the aforementioned Joe, the videographer. But Ben, knockout rugby sort of against, I guess one of the most famous teams in the world. Why get into rugby, right? How good was Saturday night? It was
an extremely good experience. I've never really played. I think it was my introduction to knockout rugby, or European knockout rugby, for the first time. So to play that, I just think that just the stakes are a lot higher. I feel like each of the moments are just matter that little bit more. And obviously, when you're in the game, you don't really think about those things. But after the game, obviously, fortunately, we got the results. We had a good second half. You relish that experience, and yeah, we did. We didn't really have the greatest of starts, especially. I mean, even just the whole of the first half, but the second half, thankfully, a couple bits of individual brilliance by the likes of Blair. Obviously, Shuey was insane. I mean, his physicality that night was a pleasure to be. Let's just say it was quite nice to not be on the Bath side. And yeah, obviously collectively we also had a good second half as well.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned Shu. He was sort of on a different planet on Saturday. I mean, how good is it sort of being with a guy that is so relaxed and sort of jokey off the pitch? I mean, everyone sort of sees his personality and then just becomes an absolute animal as soon as he's on it.
He's an extremely charismatic man off the pitch, and he's extremely yeah. I mean, before I ever trained with him, like, yeah, he was just when I just joined, he was extremely nice. He always makes the effort with even just the young boys, and I really do appreciate that from him. But I mean, you completely forget that when you're against him on the training pitch and when you're playing with him or whatever. And he's just an absolute animal, and he's not nice to play against. Really not nice. He's horrible.
I mean, sort of on a personal note, I mean, you've gone from in sort of space of a year to being fully involved in the team, and then in the space of sort of 2 or 3 weeks going up against Falatau at the weekend. I mean, you must be loving rugby at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, James. I've been loving the experience, but obviously that just comes from. I mean, there's been so many injuries with some of our key players, like obviously Jamie Ritchie, Bill Matter. All these lads have had a pretty tough injuries. But yeah, I mean, I guess you just have to, if you get given these opportunities, you've got to take them. And yeah, I felt like I've done a not bad job.
Yeah, well, smashing it. And Babs, for you, obviously coming from sort of sevens circuit where like almost every game is a knockout game, do you find that sort of helps you in the sort of coaching attitude of when you're saying, oh, it's just another game, you're sort of maybe a bit more used to it?
I don't think you ever really. I mean, every game that you play, every game of rugby you play, you do it for a purpose, and that's really to get your performances to the levels that you're capable of doing, and pushing people harder and harder. Certainly as a coach. So, when you're looking for wins all over the place, it doesn't matter whether they're 6 in a weekend or they're 1 by 1 every other weekend or what it might be. But I think that what we're realistic about where we're at as a group. We want to get everything we can out of every game that we play, and we particularly look for very high standards, both on and off the field, particularly in our training environments as well, to ensure that when we get to the crunch games and the crunch moment.
We've lost Ben. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely lost Ben. Oh,
sorry.
There we go.
We're back. We were just in the middle. So we're just saying, you never really get used to that. You're always chasing the next performance. That's what we're doing. We do it in our training environment and how we are on and off the field. And I think that, one of the things that drives me as a coach is, sometimes obviously, you can get blinded by results, but ultimately what we want to do is try and drive this group of players and staff to be the best they can possibly be. And I think that, I've been, hugely impressed with what we have done to date, the work put in by everybody around it, and ultimately the responsibility taken by the playing staff to really elevate their performances. And Bath last week was a sort of good example of that.
Yeah, I mean, Ben mentioned it was quite a sort of it was a bit more of a battle in the first half than the second in many ways. But I mean, what was sort of said at half time by, I guess, the coaching staff? Because it felt quite like a sort of dramatic shift in the way the game was going.
There wasn't a huge amount said, to be honest. We knew that, we know what our game looks like, and we know when it works, why it works. There's 2 teams on a field, and there's one team trying to put their game on top of you, and you're trying to do something similar to them. And I think that, in the first half, we weren't probably accurate enough in what we wanted to do to really put pressure on Bath, and what they had was working. And I think at halftime, it was really, getting our feet back to the floor and understanding what gives us, a strength in the game, and concentrate and focus on getting those bits right. And, one of those ultimately is being as physical as you possibly can in the game with accuracy and discipline. And I thought that certainly perhaps that sort of 10, 15 minutes after halftime when we were still in that arm wrestle, and a bit of focus around, where we were going to attack. I think that probably gave us the ins that we did need. And once we created that momentum, we know we're a good side when we do create that. And obviously the opponents are trying to stop that happening all the time. But, as is indicated, that started to come within that second half. And I think that, as we neared the end of the half, we were hungry for more. And, that bodes well going into this week.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, sort of similar question, but from a player's perspective, I mean, what's the dressing room like when you're going in at halftime down in sort of a quite, an intense game? I mean, is there a lot of chat, or is it sort of boys sort of thinking about their own game and sort of having a couple of words?
So firstly, we go to the we sit down for a minute or so. We gather your thoughts, think about what you're doing. Just if you want to look at your notes, whatever. Just maybe potentially just be relaxing for a minute or so. Then we go to we listen to our. I listen to Stevie. We go into our units, listen to our forwards leaders, reflect on the first half, what went right, what went wrong, what can we do in the second half, and then we go into the team, and then we just a similar thing happens, what's been working in the first half, what's been going wrong, and how are we going to fix that? And it's all 90% of it is all about our own game. I mean, it's not really focusing on them. It's because we know it's usually is within ourselves, and we believe that as well. With the Bath game, we weren't some of the things we weren't really up to scratch with. In second half, we were. So yeah.
Yeah, it felt like there was a lot, like Bath were bringing a lot of physicality in that first half, and then sort of second half. I mean, we see the glitzy tries, but there was one moment. I think it looked like you'd dislocated your shoulder, but you were having some attention, and then sort of a few phases later, put in sort of a quite game-changing jackal turnover.
No, I was being soft, James. I was being soft.
But I mean, what's going through your mind in those kind of moments?
No, I'm just fully invested in the game, not thinking about anything else. Like, I think when you're playing for Edinburgh, like, that's what you think about. When you play rugby, full stop. That's all you're thinking about when you're playing. And it's obviously an amazing privilege to play rugby and just be so in the moment. And yeah, after and before, just thinking about the game, thinking about it so much. Yeah, and then after, if it goes well, you just enjoy the experience and just hope. Sometimes I forget quite a lot of it, actually. When you're so pumped up, you just forget. Like, you forget certain moments when you watch the game again. Like, oh, I forgot I did that. But yeah, once again, an amazing experience.
Is it the same for you, Bab? Sort of when you're coaching, I guess, because you are outside of it. You're not sort of getting hit on the pitch. I mean, do you find it's the same kind of thing where you're just not necessarily thinking about it, or are you really trying to sort of analyze every moment?
Yeah, I think that obviously you've got a different perspective when you're a coach. That's why you're there, is to potentially have more of an objective view and not get caught up in the moments, and to be able to make sort of rational and logical decisions and impart information back onto the field without sort of getting too passionate about it and wrapped up in it. And I suppose I learned a huge amount of that with being involved with the Sevens in Fiji and being sort of touchline. When the Sevens, you're right on the touchline. It's quite difficult to stay away from it. But fortunately, I'm up in a box now, and that really helps in your ability to stay objective, analyze the game as we would analyze it afterwards, on our laptops. And then give good information when the players need the information. The players have to stay in the moment. They have to be, emotionally and physically connected to the game. So, they wouldn't be thinking necessarily the same way that we do. But ultimately, our jobs as coaches is to remain slightly dispassionate and be able to get that information into them. And as you said, at halftime, be able to have a good conversation around, how you're going to perform in second half based on what's come up the first half.
That's interesting, because you get the sort of cliche of like the hairdryer treatment. It sounds like it's almost the opposite. It's sort of a bit more clarity. But one thing as well that people noticed, and we spoke about Blair and sort of the skill that he was showing, but one thing that people noticed was James Lang, and particularly the sort of pass out of the back that he did a couple of times that set up tries. But perhaps it's sort of it's the attack coaching skills. Can you give a bit of insight into, without giving the game away, why that pass is sort of as effective as it is? 'Cause it looks so simple when you're just watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose it's one of the tactics that's used by teams to really. The game of rugby is an invasion game. It's about attracting defenders into spaces so you can create space in other areas of the field and then go and invade that space. And that is one of the tactics that you'd use, just like, an offload or a cut, as we'd say, when you get people to follow you on a field and then you open up space. This is another mechanism for doing that. And, really what you're looking at is, as a ball player, is taking somebody right to the line as a supporter, and getting the two defenders or three defenders in front of you to hold and sit in those positions so they can't effectively get off and defend anybody who's almost taking a late ball behind you and can run to the next space. And that's what that is. James is particularly good at it. We've got other players who are working on that and developing that as part of the skill set that they need in terms of attack. And I think that it's a particularly powerful one when defenders are looking to hit hard and hit quickly, is that they have difficulty then adjusting. And as you see, that James's ability to get right to the line, play at the line, as we say, and then create space for somebody in behind, either to go themselves or put on another pass. You know, defenses work hard on not giving space, and ultimately,
we've lost Babs again at the end.
He's got terrible Wi-Fi, hasn't he?
Terrible Wi-Fi. But we've actually, while Babs is frozen, we've got a question in from Connor Boyle.
Yeah.
Is it true that Ben gets ready at 5 a.m. for 8 p.m. games?
5 a.m. I just like getting into it, you know. I don't know. I just don't like being rushed. I get there quite early, I'd say. I think I'm one of the earliest in the changing rooms. I don't know. I like to have a lot of what's the word? It's a bit. I think I'm just a bit weird, to be honest, but a bit of like mental imagery beforehand and visualization of the games. Or what's about to happen. So yeah, I like to get mentally in the zone a bit earlier than others. I don't really like some crack before games.
You're not a bit tired by the time you get to the game?
Nah, I just take an obscene amount of caffeine. Nah. To be fair, I don't go too early. I like to just be in my own feelings, and then just before the game, get into it.
Good answer. I've got another live question in, I think. How did you beat the Sharks? I'll put that to you first, Babs. Oh. Babs, well, Ben, how did you beat the Sharks?
How did we beat the Sharks? Well, we got firstly, all the boys were so up for the game, and all credit to all of them. It was a good squad performance. Second of all, we got the luck of the Scottish weather. It was absolutely pouring it down. And we played it really well. Our captains and the boys who lead the game on the pitch called the right calls, and we very much went to a kicking game, but a very strong one, and it worked out for us. And the boys brought it. They brought the physicality, they brought the energy, and it was awesome. And once again, a great experience, and all the boys enjoyed it after as well.
Yeah, it looked like it was about as wet as it could possibly be on a pitch.
Oh yeah.
Is that putting sort of like 1 meter long studs on, or?
It was quite weird. It was very mossy, the pitch. It was like it didn't look like that bad, but then when you maybe made a tackle or something, you'd like be drowning when you're on the floor. But nah, it was actually all right. It was very like tropically like rain, if you know what I mean. It was like warm rain. A bit different to Scottish.
Yeah, that's just cold rain.
Yeah. But no, it was good.
Oh, what have we got? How are you getting on, Babs? All right, well, Benny, I've got some more sort of fans questions that we got sent in before the show. So thanks to everyone who sent in the questions.
Awesome.
Bit more dressing room chat, as it were. One from Ross. Whose playlist is the go-to on a game day?
Playlist definitely not Marshall Sykes's. It's terrible, and he gets on songs, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" That's what I'm saying. He's to be fair, he's actually all right sometimes. I'd say I've got all right tunes. Blacking Horns tunes are quite good. But yeah, probably if there was to be anything taken from this answer, not Marshall Sykes.
The next one's sort of similar. Is that Alfie asks, "Who's the funniest teammate?"
Funniest. Skewy's actually quite a funny man, but it's very dad chat. It's like very it's like dad jokes. If you find dad humor quite funny. David Cherry's he's got very dry humor, but he's actually gets a laugh quite a lot of times. And Patrick Harrison from Peebles. He's extremely funny. Extremely funny. He makes us chuckle quite a fair bit. The stories he gets up to on the weekend are quite funny.
Sorry, Joe, I dropped out then.
That's right. And Babs, who's the sort of funniest member of the coaching staff?
It's a hard battle, but I'd have to say Stevie Laurie. He's got a very different take on life. I do enjoy working with them all, but he comes up with some funnies. I think he still thinks he's a player as well, which is good, and likes the banter. But Stevie's always got a good crack and good banter around him.
And he's turned you into a Hearts fan, so you must have been really happy at the weekend.
Well, interested to know, but when I was about 11, I came up and watched Hearts Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final with one of my best friends. So
Right.
Hearts is one of the few teams that I have actually watched live up here in Scotland, and obviously I'm looking forward to going to a cup final as well.
I think it might be the same weekend as the quarterfinal, but we'll see.
Well, obviously the Hearts game, then, isn't it?
Ben, we've got another live question that's come in for you. My friend thinks you keep a lock of Mish's mullet in your sock. Is this true?
What?
Well, we've noticed you're growing out a mullet as well. I mean, is that
Oh
emulating?
yeah, it's completely copying Hamish Watson. He had an awesome. But I've basically got a bit of a receding hairline, so I've only got limited days left before my precious hair goes. So I'm trying out all these new things and seeing where it takes me.
I mean, it could look worse.
Yes, it could. There's some pretty The double skin fade from Nathan Chamberlain is pretty funny.
You've thrown him right under the bus there.
No.
I mean, Babs, back to rugby. It's another big game this weekend. Obviously against Zebra, you've had a pretty tough season so far, but it's obviously going to be a key one for keeping the push on to the end of the season.
Yeah, and again, probably back to a little bit sort of Ben spoke about and we talked about is focusing very much on what we want to deliver, and that's easier said than done. It is about maintaining standards and going through the process as you go through week to week to get some sort of consistency and understanding how you can recreate performance week after week. And we know that Zebra will come up to Edinburgh with a view that they can potentially get something out of this game, and also we've got the reasons why we do what we do to the end of the season, and we know that this is a crucial part of that journey. So we're not taking anything for granted. We're ensuring that the players prep in the way that they do and have the necessary focus points emotionally and mentally to ensure that they get to the weekend where they can just go and perform. And I think that when we've managed to do that, and when we have had the mental approach right during the game and during the week, and have come to the game in the right frame, then we've done particularly well. And that's what we'll be after this weekend against a team that potentially could see themselves getting something.
Yeah, and Ben, from sort of players' perspective, obviously at this point every game is massive. So I mean, you must be sort of relishing the thought of going into this one at the weekend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, whoever plays is every single one of these games, is every single point, minute will matter, every single moment. So yeah, it's just the stakes are getting upped, and I just want to be part of it as much as I can, and hopefully contribute to it as much as I can too. So yeah.
Awesome. And just one final question for you both. It's from Reese. Babs, you first. What's your favourite part of your job?
Favourite part of my job? I think, it's a bit, I've said this before, but it's a bit like being in school. You're still with your mates every day. And, if you're lucky enough to find a job that you have a passion for, and yet when you turn up every day, it doesn't get old and you enjoy the challenges. And most importantly, that you do it with, good mates around you. Rugby is a communal game. It's about having relationships with different people. And if you're not in for that, then rugby's not the game for you. And I wouldn't have been in it as long as I have. But that would be my favourite part of the game is, the job and the game is that you get to sort of be in school every day with your best mates. Ideally you're going and testing yourselves together every weekend. And, I like that. I always have liked it. And, I want it to continue.
And Ben, actually, we've got firstly that question, and then we'll have a live one afterwards. But what's your sort of favourite part of being a rugby player?
I'd say creating lifelong pals, going through, like, whether it's just in the game or off the pitch, just going through adversities and hardships, and after it, just being able to look at each other and just have an amazing experience of it. And yeah, I'd say, yeah, the experiences and the bonding of lifelong friends.
Oh, awesome. And well, we've got a final live question for you as well. How do players keep sharp and game ready with such a large squad and competition for places?
I think with training, with such a large squad, obviously some of the boys might not get as much game time. I've obviously had a fair bit of that these last 2 seasons. Obviously got a good run of games now, but when it is so competitive, you've got to kind of train as hard as you can and prepare the 23 as much as you can. The better you train, if you're in the non-23, the better the match day 23 will play, because they'll be more prepared. And just staying on top after sessions, going with your pals and doing some individual work-ons. It's just like it's one of those extra things, and obviously whatever you need to work on positionally, or whatever one of your weaknesses, or wanting to turn your strengths into one of your super strengths, just keep doing that and staying on top of that, doing as much as you can. And I'd say the main thing is just training as hard as you can and trying to stay as competitive as possible.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'll let you get into the sunshine and make the most of it while you can. Ben, I know you've got the shorts on, so you're clearly wanting the sun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insight and chat tonight.
Thank you very much, James.
Cheers, James.
And thank you. Thanks to all of you for joining tonight, and thank you to Scottish Building Society for making the show possible. We'll be back at a similar time next week to chat about the Zebra game, which you can be at. Tickets are available for Friday night's game via the Edinburgh Rugby website. So hopefully see you there for another good game of the Dam. Cheers.